Good morning and welcome to the Woodlands Area Chamber of Commerce Between the Trees show, brought to you by Woodlands Online. We are so excited to be here today with our friend and our newest friend and partner, Mr. Jevon Gibb with the Woodlands Area Economic Development Partnership.
Thanks, Aaron. What's good in the woods?
I
told you I was going to do it.
That's right. And I appreciate that so much. It is. There's a lot that is good in the woods, and we want to talk about it a little bit today. All the great things that are going on, the things that we have going here. And one of the big ones is adding you. You know, after a long time tenure of Gil Staley, we know that, he is very appreciated in this community and has done a ton in the area of economic development, and he's passed the torch. And it's like, the Olympics. We're going to keep running and going. It's exciting for me because we get to kind of be new together.
Yeah.
Get to walk this journey and figure a lot of things out. So, a full 2 weeks in.
I know where the bathrooms are.
There you go.
Yeah.
Starting in on week 3. So how are things going so far?
Great. I tell you, a lot of this, first couple weeks is introductions. Getting to know people, meeting people. This community is amazing.
Yes.
There hasn't been a person that I've met that didn't say, how can I help? What do you need? How do we succeed and win together? That's awesome. It's not what can you do for me? It's not what can I get out of the EDP? It's what can I do for you? And that's great to join.
Absolutely. And, and it's one of the things that I've noticed, and you hear people talk about it a lot as you're coming here, but you truly do walk into a community of open arms, right?
Yeah.
There's not this resistance or you have to earn your spot. It's people are genuinely here to help to move this place forward. So yeah. It's got to be refreshing. Well, it is good to have you on, and we want to get to know you a little bit. This is the opportunity to kind of introduce you to everyone. And I know that folks might see or hear as they go around Salt Lake City, but that's not where the journey began, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about where that journey began and a little bit about you.
Yeah, journey begins in Paris, Texas. So born in the hospital there. My family were farmers near Clarksville. So Paris was the big city nearby. Eventually settled in Tyler. Went to undergrad, UT Austin, law school, UT Austin. Joined the Navy JAG, all over the place. But it's been a journey. Absolutely.
That's super cool. And so just for those who don't know, we're talking about the real Paris, not the phony one with the Eiffel Tower.
Well, no, the real Paris in Texas also has a small Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. We've got the little Eiffel Tower here.
Yeah, and a Campbell Soup Factory, which is, the best of the best, right?
Absolutely. So a Texas guy and really understanding the dynamics of our state. I think, often giving us perspective on the value of our state, beyond just the land and the resources, but it's the people and all the other things that come with Texas. Then we make it even more special here in the Woodlands. So pretty diverse background from Paris to UT, to a JAG officer, which is super cool. We were hoping we catch an episode on TV where we might have seen you do a cameo or something.
Yeah, but all those guys are like Navy SEALs, and then they became JAGs. I'm not nearly as cool or interesting as they are on the TV show.
Absolutely. So, but even with that, how is that journey, coming from a smaller community and then candidly traveling the world?
Yeah.
How has that shaped your view of economic development and the way that you go about things day to day?
Yeah, I got into international economic development in undergrad because when my parents told me I wasn't allowed to drop out of school, they did let me go do a year of study abroad in Prague, which it's 2001 at the time. There's so much economic activity going on there. I was really excited about looking at how economic development and political and economic transitions affect the world. Spent time living outside Shanghai between undergrad and law school, go to law school to do international law, into the JAG Corps because the rule of law missions that the Navy was doing in Iraq and Afghanistan were just some of the coolest opportunities of a generation. Sure. Spent time in Afghanistan doing that, trying to figure out how to build a legal system, how to set them up for success. And obviously, I won't take single-handed blame for that. But it was trying to understand how that international economic development worked. And then after a midlife crisis, post-Afghanistan, somehow found my way into regional U.S. economic development. But
Absolutely.
it's still that commitment to, like, I remember my family going broke on the family farm and trying to find a job, seeing in Prague families trying to find jobs. In the end, it comes down to parents feeding their kiddos, putting food on the table,
Absolutely.
prosperity, the abstract work that we do, recruiting businesses or thinking about like the latest bio trends. In the end, it comes down to taking care of your kiddos.
Absolutely.
And that's exciting to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the things that as I was coming here and throughout my life is that same philosophy, is that people matter.
Yeah.
No matter what level, where we are, what we're doing, when it all boils down, it's about people, and those people are us. And at the end of the day, all we've got is each other, right? Yeah. And so to have that as a motivating force is really a phenomenal thing to know that at the end of the day, it's about the people, right? Yeah. So that's great. So, I know that we've had a chance to talk several times, and we've heard, and there's obvious reasons why the board at the EDP wanted you here, and part of that is passion, right? It is a passion for economic development. It's a passion for people. It's a passion to be in this place. But as you look back over the years, was there one kind of defining moment in your career that you said, economic development is my spot, and I want to do it, and really run through it into that arena?
I'd say maybe I'm going to respond to one and give you three.
Yeah, there you go.
So first one was post-Afghanistan. I get out of the Navy. I was working as a consultant in New Orleans and got an engagement with the city of New Orleans Economic Development and said, wow, I love the work that they're doing. I want to figure out how to do it a little differently. From there, I took a fellowship at Harvard, and there was a professor there, Ricardo Hausman, who talks about economic complexity. And it's that economies aren't just driven by capital and labor and all your like traditional economic formulas, but it's people's abilities and the interconnections between people's abilities, the strength of those connections, and how we all work together, kind of like all the brain cells in your brain kind of work together to create intelligence, that we create economic intelligence and complexity. That was exciting. And I said, okay, I understand what New Orleans was doing. I understand what he's doing. Now I want to do it. And I would say over the last 8 years of doing it, it's figuring out how that actually works. Sure. Because the academic approach, like, it's real cool to measure things, but that doesn't get stuff done.
Right.
And I think that's something that you and I have talked a lot about, which is,
absolutely,
okay, now how do I get stuff done? How do I create jobs instead of measuring jobs and measuring connections? How do I bring in a new business? How do I solve a problem for an existing business? That's something in Salt Lake County. I went there during the pandemic, and it was, how do I keep businesses from closing their doors? And then really kind of saying, but no kidding, I just can't give them money. Sure. I have to solve problems, because we had plenty of money to just dump on them. But if you dump money on a business that isn't financially sound, you're going to lose it. It's right. A bad investment of taxpayer dollars.
Absolutely.
And so it was just kind of that transition of idea in New Orleans. I wouldn't say fantasy in academia, but that feels like academia sometimes. And then it's the get stuff done
sure.
piece in Salt Lake County, which is why I'm so excited to take all of that here and work with this community. Because if you go back to that economic complexity idea, we have that community with interconnectedness and all these pieces that are ready to get stuff done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So bringing the theory, the practice, the people all together into one place and getting stuff done.
Yeah, man.
Well, we look forward to that opportunity to do it. As we talk about bringing those things together for the Woodlands and in the Woodlands area, what are some of the opportunities that you see just kind of walking in, and challenges? I know everybody asks me, coming from the outside in, what are some of the things that you see as opportunities? Have you identified any of those?
Yeah, I think one of those, we talk a lot about recruiting bio and research forest and technology forest. As an outsider coming in, I say that's really interesting, but I don't know how to recruit bio. Bio is a big thing. Are we talking medical devices? Are we talking bioinformatics, sure. diagnostic, therapeutics, on and on? They're all very different. They're very different companies with very different needs. The value proposition of the Woodlands is so different for those things. I had a conversation this morning with Newmark Global, talking with site selectors and saying, how do you think about us Where are we competitive and where are we not? There are reasons that a company is going to set up in Boston or San Francisco. There's a reason a company would go to Frisco, Texas, or New Albany, Ohio. We have to find that opportunity to engage with that company and figure out when it makes sense for them to move to the Woodlands or to invest their new expansion in the Woodlands. And we've got to get really precise in how we build that business case. I'm a really small organization that we will only be able to achieve success by activating our community. But if I go to our community members and say, help me, but I don't know how, that's going to lose that energy. So it's figuring out how to get more precise on how we're going to create just awesome successes and wins in the biospace.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, and that's a unique, very interesting point that you make is, recruitment, so often we feel like, Jevon, go conquer the world, and you go out and you go, company A, I have this. How can you pass? But it is a two-way street still, right? It has to be a fit for them and a fit for us. So you have the dual job of saying, yeah, that would be great. Oh, it could bring a lot. But is it right for us in our community? And, that's a really big challenge that you guys get to manage and navigate and do well at. A second ago, we were talking about bringing together kind of the practice, the theory, and the people, which boils down again to workforce and talent, right? And, I think that we are very fortunate in that our schools, public schools, are rated very high in the state. We have great resources like Lone Star College and Sam Houston State. We've got Texas A&M an hour away, University of Houston another hour. Talk about that workforce element and how critical those partnerships are.
I mean, workforce is one of the key drivers for business attraction right now. For the longest time, it was incentives. It was how much money could you give a company? But because unemployment's so low, because workforce is so scarce, that is the differentiator between so many regions. So as we talk about those awesome schools, as we talk about the 13 million people in the greater Houston region that we can tap into, it's figuring out how to make sure that we're getting the right training, how we together work with Sam Houston State and with all of these, and Lone Star and all of those institutions that you talked about, to say, hey, we're going to go after this, contract development and manufacturing, entity in biopharma. Here's the kinds of jobs they need. Here's the training that's needed for that. How does that align with what you're doing? If it's different, is there an opportunity to do things differently? Do you do something that we need to try to recruit for? But it's that alignment piece as we realize how important workforce is, in addition to the fact that it all comes down to people in the end.
Yeah.
But because workforce is so critical, the alignment that we create has become much more important than, when you saw Amazon HQ2 and they were looking at how much money will you give me? Yeah. I think we've transitioned to turn the page to think a little bit more about workforce, and it's how do you bring the community to business and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. Several years ago, Jim Clifton, the CEO at Gallup, wrote a book called The Coming Jobs War. And in that book, he makes that point of, those communities that have talent in the future economy win. Yeah. Bottom line. And he laid out a multitude of other things, resources that communities can bring, but he said if you don't have talent, you don't win. So we definitely know that our people are in a lot of ways are our strength. Yeah. And now it's up to us to try to figure out how to get that alignment that you're talking about and move us forward and keep us going. That'll be a great challenge and opportunity for us. So we're looking at it. So again, we look at it and we think about what's next. Where do we go from here? Your first big public appearance, February the 21st, at the Woodlands Area Chamber Economic Outlook Conference. Any highlights on that? Previews, sneak peeks that you want to give today? Teasers, if you will.
So I'd say I'm excited to deliver some good news.
Awesome.
We've got good news. And to talk about how we're going to build on that good news. That's one of the mandates of my board, which is to get proactive and to go out and make good news, not just share what happened. But we've got great news to share.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to share with everybody how we're going to make it even better next year.
All right. Well, it's been great talking with you. Anything else you want to tell the people about Jevon Gibb?
No, excited to be part of the community.
Yes.
I think this is something, my parents still live in Northeast Texas, 2.5 hours away. I get to move my wife here finally at the end of February. We've got a baby coming in April. We are excited to be part of this community. I wanted to get back to Texas for a long time. The Woodlands is what sold my wife.
Yeah.
And it's to be part of this special community. But as part of that, I'm excited to get to work and get stuff done for and with this community. Excited to work with you. Yes. But excited to work with so many chamber members because we're going to do awesome stuff together.
Yes, we get that beautiful opportunity to define kind of and walk through these next 50 years of the Woodlands, and we're excited to have you. We certainly appreciate you stopping by today and spending some time with us, getting us to learn a little bit more about you. But as we look down the road 2, 3, 5, 10 years, can't think of anybody else who we want to walk that road with, and so we're ecstatic to get to work with you. Appreciate you being here, and thank you for all that you've done and all that you're going to do and that you're doing right now. So we'll see you all on February 21st, Economic Outlook Conference. Going to bring some good news. We are going to celebrate that good news. We're going to talk about how we can build on it. We're going to look toward the future and talk about how we respond to the things that are going on throughout this country and throughout our world economically to move our business community forward. So with that, thank you again for joining us on Between the Trees, presented by the Woodlands Online. Jevon, thanks again. Looking forward to walking the walk and heading down the road with you. We appreciate you, and best of luck to you and to us as we go forward.
Let's get to work.
Let's do it.
All right.
Thank you, sir.